Do you guys think that Trevor Lawrence has been underwhelming as a first overall pick?
Last year he was fantastic. This year he has been underwhelming.
Yeah, because I remember I said that on the fantasy reaction last night, and I almost regretted it right after I said it because it's easy to forget. I feel like early in the year he was a lot better. Like that Buffalo game sticks out. He was phenomenal. But these last couple of weeks, I think you just see so many other quarterbacks play at a high level, and you see Trevor Lawrence. And I don't know whether it's me just not locking in as much on Jags games as I was at the end of last year because they were so hot or what, but he doesn't seem to be elevating as much as some other guys. Maybe I'm just comparing him too much to Stroud, but what he did last year, going on that run those last 8-9 games, winning that playoff game, I can't say he's a disappointment 3 years into his career.
I do think we expected a lot after that playoff game. You know, we expected them to come in this year and Trevor to put up some stupid numbers, you know. And even last year, you can seeing how the way he ended and then going into the playoff game. So it's a lot of expectation. Plus, he was like a generational prospect, number one pick.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it's like
he was propped up to be generational.
Yeah, so it's like he's not doing generational shit.
He's been good, but not generational.
Like we expected, like you see what Justin Herbert's done in his first 3 years, stat-wise. That's what we're expecting from Trevor Lawrence, and we're not getting that. But it's not like he's playing bad.
Here's the issue, too, though. One thing I want to give Trevor a little bit of leeway. Or again, I was very critical of his game versus San Fran, but here they tried to help him out by bringing in Calvin Ridley. Their big move for Trevor Lawrence was bringing in a guy who was gone for 2 seasons. That was their power move. They brought in Christian Kirk on at the time overpay, right? These big moves in the bigger picture were not these power moves. So you look at a Jalen Hurts getting an A.J. Brown. They drafted Devonta Smith. They already had Dallas Goedert. They already had this amazing offensive line. Look at Tua. They drafted Jalen Waddle. They go and they trade for Tyreek Hill. Josh Allen. They go and they trade for Stephon Diggs. Patrick Mahomes gets Tyreek Hill and arguably the greatest tight end of all time. To me, he'll always be number 2, but I just want to preface.
Even Dak, they traded for Coop. They drafted
CeeDee Lamb. They also drafted Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard comes in. Tony wasn't supposed to be that, but he was great.
Zeke was the same year, though.
No, I know.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Nuts.
But my point being is these power moves, in theory, in hindsight, they're not.
Jacksonville's not when have we known them to make power moves,
But again, they tried. They tried.
In my opinion, I don't think C.J. Stroud is horrible. I mean, C.J.
I know
Stroud.
what you mean.
I don't think Calvin Ridley's horrible. I think Calvin Ridley's good. It's just that they're not putting him in a position to actually get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the main takeaway I have from that because I think Ridley has or can put up big numbers. It's just the offense that they have designed right now is just not putting him in a place that fits his strengths too much. There are a lot of quarterbacks that have more passing touchdowns than Lawrence right now. These are all the quarterbacks.
Him having 9 is wild
right?
to me.
Yes. Trevor Lawrence has 9 passing touchdowns on the season. These are all the quarterbacks that probably shouldn't have more passing touchdowns than him, but do.
I think Mac Jones is one of them.
Sam Howell, 17. Jordan Love, 14. Baker Mayfield, 14. Josh Dobbs, 11. Justin Fields, 11, and he hasn't played in weeks. Geno Smith, 11. Derek Carr, 10. And Matt Jones, 10. Those are all the quarterbacks that have more passing touchdowns than Trevor Lawrence this season.
Do you know Lamar Jackson has the same amount of passing touchdowns as Mac Jones?
You know, Josh Allen leads the league in total touchdowns.
ETN also has 7 rushing touchdowns. Where it's
going
to hurt.
2-2-2 in a 3-week span. You know, it's weird about that you brought that up because I was talking to a couple dudes in the Discord, and it's just mind-fucking-boggling to me that you're so good, and yet you only have 9 touchdowns on the season. Like, it's like I get he's playing well beyond the numbers, and I get but when you're a top 7, top 8 guy, there's got to be a form of numbers that just back up what you're doing. And Trevor Lawrence is like probably one of the few guys that's like, no, it's not backing him up, but he's playing extremely well. So it's like, and it's weird too because AR's coming, CJ Stroud is coming. Like these aren't guys that are old. You have not the benefit, but you have a situation where your division has young quarterbacks that are going to be coming for your spot. Outside of Tennessee, who has Will Levis, but they don't know what they have yet. But AR has the potential. We've seen it. CJ Stroud, we know he's probably pushing the door quicker than we expected.
Absolutely.
So this is not a situation where you have a bunch of old quarterbacks. You have a bunch of young guys that are going to be coming, and then you have Houston, who's primed to make probably some big moves next offseason. So for Jacksonville, you expected them to make the big leap, and they're 6-4, 6-3, whatever. But you expected them, like I remember we had conversations this offseason about how we thought they'd run this division for so long, but the Colts are 5-5.
Colts are sneaky.
AR hasn't played in some time. CJ Stroud in there, 6-5, 5-4, some shit like 5-4. Like, these are two teams that can literally make moves this offseason, get better, and literally take the division. Like, you won't even have a chance to run the division like you wanted to. So
Tennessee, after that Falcons game, people were hyping up like, "Hey, Levis coming on. We'll have."
That's what I'm saying. Like, now you got another dude you might have to watch over, and then
the hype's died down for Levis.
And what if Caleb comes? What if Caleb comes to the AFC? Now you have another guy. Like,
God willing, go to the
NFC.
So
it's tough.
I mean, we got the Giants, Cardinals, Bears. So
and do you adjust your, because I like, we do this in the NBA. We get a guy, we draft him, right, and then like 2 years you start to adjust what he can be. Like, you're like, all right, he's not that top 5 pick he was, but he can still be a serviceable role player.
Yeah, that's fair.
So do we adjust?
Andrew Wiggins type.
Yeah, like type shit. Like, he was a number 1 pick. Now we adjust. No, he's just a high quality role player. Yeah. Do you adjust Trevor Lawrence's expectations where he was a generational prospect? First year you blame it on Urban Meyer. He was complete dog shit. Last year, they came back from 27, did all the great things, but now this year, they've kind of, as a whole, offensively looked pedestrian. Do you adjust Trevor Lawrence's expectation? Like, maybe you thought he'd be top 3, top 4. Maybe he's not that anymore. Maybe he's probably going to be top 5, top 6, top 7, as opposed to CJ Stroud, where he's like, yo, this dude might be top 5 in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for really any quarterback. I mean, I think we've just seen, I don't want to call them anomalies, but I feel like throughout the history of the NFL, most guys don't come in 2 years, 3 years in, you're like, they're top 5. But these last couple of years, we've seen Mahomes do it. We've seen Herbert do it. Josh Allen
in year 3.
I would say Josh Allen took like year 3. Same thing with Jalen Hurts, where it took his, I guess, 3rd year, but 2nd year start in the NFL, where we're seeing all of these quarterbacks break out early.
Off the dome.
Yeah, K1 was phenomenal as a rookie too. So I think it's still too early to write off or kind of define what Trevor Lawrence's career is going to be. He could still end up being a top 5 quarterback because he has that type of talent. And I don't want to, at the end of the day, they're still first in the division. I still think they will win the division. They'll host a playoff game. So if they win another playoff game, like, Trevor Lawrence still has to be in that conversation for top 7, top 8 quarterback. But it's just been, when you compare him to the rest of the league, he hasn't been putting up the same numbers, kind of the same eye-popping type of, like, wow moments that we've seen from other guys.
It's just funny to me because this is kind of the difference between these two quarterbacks. But you look at Justin Herbert, he puts up great statistics. This year he's playing at a top quarterback level, but he's labeled as some type of loser because his defense gives up a ton of points every single game, right? And he's not labeled as a top 5 quarterback because he doesn't win. But Trevor Lawrence wins, but the stats aren't Justin Herbert's. But now that they're using that to knock Lawrence. So when you have great stats but lose, you get knocked.
Yep.
When you have stats that are not the best and you're winning, you get knocked. I think Trevor Lawrence has been playing great. I think the issues are things around him right now. The play calling isn't good, and the pass blocking is horrible. They're 31st in pass block win rate. They're 30th in run block win rate. They have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Calvin Ridley has not been what he was supposed to be. He has not been A.J. Brown to the Eagles. He has not been Stephon Diggs to the Bills. He has not been that type of game changer. He's not been Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. So I think that hurts them a little bit. I think last year the Jaguars went all in free agency to bring in more talent to the team, and they've kind of strapped themselves financially, and now they have to really hope that they hit on draft picks to get talent on this team.
You know what fucking grinds my fucking gears that you just brought up? You brought up Stephon Diggs, and his brother was tweeting a bunch of
chatting.
You know what pisses me off about stuff like that? Is you can say a quarterback, a wide receiver can elevate a quarterback, yet nobody in a God-given mind was putting Stephon Diggs in top 4 conversations as a wide receiver in Minnesota. He goes to play with Josh Allen. Josh Allen elevates him as he elevates Josh Allen. Yet the only person that gets the benefit of the doubt is Stephon Diggs.
And we're not going to pretend like Pat didn't strap him up. Like, that's what happened.
And it's like mind-boggling how people people were just chiming in with like, yeah. Like Josh Allen had 29 total touchdowns before Diggs that year. They won 10 games. He had 29 total. He wasn't this completion god. He was at 58%, but he was improving. You saw it. Stephon just upgraded the improvement, but he also made Stephon Diggs a top 5 receiver in the world, and they just don't care about that other side.
And not only that, but it annoys me that Stephon Diggs, he requested out of Minnesota because he wasn't getting the ball enough. Since 2020, since he's been in Buffalo, he's been the second most targeted wide receiver in the NFL, and that still doesn't seem to be good enough for him. The fact that Trayvon Diggs, Devontae Adams number 1, the fact that Trayvon Diggs is comfortable enough to tweet out on social media against the quarterback that his brother plays against, you just know that Stephon
talking,
Diggs
yeah.
is saying things behind the scenes on how he's not all the way vibing with the Bills right now. I think that's a horrible look for Stephon Diggs, and he has to check people in his circle that stuff like that does not get out, because that quite literally can mess up an entire team season. The Bills already look like they're on the decline. They fired their OC. Sean McDermott can't close out games defensively.
Bro.
Now this Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs beef, this drama that kind of brewed up after the playoff loss is being brought up again because of his brother. At this point in time, I just think Stephon Diggs just has to check his circle and make sure that doesn't get out.
Let's also go back in time. We can agree Josh Allen's best game ever would be against the Kansas City Chiefs, correct?
Sure.
All right. Now, in that game, do you know how many yards Stephon Diggs had?
Probably like 60.
I think it was 14.
Bro was upset.
Was it 4 catches?
Well, Gabe Davis.
For
Well, he
14?
was a decoy. Gabe Davis had a breakout
That was
game.
Davis, 200 yards.
That was the
4
moment.
touchdowns.
Gabe Davis was
And
upset.
Stephon got into the end zone too. But again,
He was primarily a decoy.
Gabe Davis went absolutely crazy. So again, in the biggest game of Josh's life, right? Stephon Diggs has been amazing for Josh Allen for sure. But again, in the biggest game in recent memory for the Bills came up short, not because of Josh Allen and not because of Stephon Diggs.
Team in general.
But the point being is, so we're just going to let one game in the playoffs versus the Bengals. And then, of course, we're looking at the early season woes and the struggles of this offense back and forth, where even still, statistically, Josh Allen has been impressive. It's just the turnovers. You got to stop. It's 6 games in a row now, something like that with an interception.
I mean, I feel like at this point, you should just expect the turnover again.
for Trayvon to tweet.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That is ridiculous.
And that's weird to me because you are on a team where you see CeeDee Lamb elevate Dak. Dak elevate CeeDee. Like, you see the connection they have, and you have, like, the nerve to sit there. And I get that's your brother, but your brother gets paid a hefty amount from Buffalo.
And he's contracted for what, another 4?
I think it's a year next year, but the dead cap to move him would be insane. Like,
Okay.
they wouldn't do that.